Jagex is making pretty big moves for 2026, and they recently announced that they're going to be removing Treasure Hunter on January 19th of 2026. These things are very, very important because microtransactions have never been removed inside of a giant AAA game before. I don't know if this counts as AAA, but it's a big game in general. Alongside the announcement of removal of Treasure Hunter in January, they also went into other things that they've realized that the player base has been talking about and prospective players have been talking about when they come to try the game. Fresh off the feedback from the recent leaks, the limited time game mode that pretty much provided a power fantasy for people who had never played the game before, it was a great time ripe with feedback, and it is nice to see that a big company in this time and age is going to be reacting and responding and acting on a ton of big pain points that players have mentioned. My name is Enemoos. I've been playing RuneScape 3 for a very long time, and I'm an official creator for the video game. I would love to share my thoughts on the recent blog posts and things I would like to see about it, things I'm kind of skeptical about, and things I'm most excited for coming up in 2026. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave me a like. Leave me a comment what you'd like to see in 2026, if there's something that they think they could miss, or what you'd like to see added. And I'd also love if you subscribe to catch up on other things if you'd like, or if you're just as a one-stop shop. I appreciate your time. Let's roll right into the video. So, from the blog post, I have some notes on the blog post. I'm not gonna read the whole thing straight from here, but big changes coming for the blog post, right? MTX, Treasure Hunter, or the microtransactions essentially will be going away on January 26th, which is very, very good. This is actually, let's think about that business-wise. That's like Q1 for the company, so it's a very good start to the year. Hopefully, it's good. And the reason why those things matter is because, like, I think Jagex is a publicly traded company, so that it matters in like how much their stock is. So that's a pretty big portion right there. So that includes proteins, dummies, stations, XP lamps, and a few other things that are directly experience based, which is a very big change for the game, because when a lot of your skills are diluted and just kind of like watered down with the direct XP, then direct XP is not a bad thing. I will die on that hill. It's not a bad thing. But it's the manner of how you get that direct XP. If the best XP per hour was lamps, right? I personally think that if you made the mini games or like distractions and diversions, not the hourly ones, because that's a huge problem, right? They're going to address daily scape. If you're going to introduce new ways to get lamps, it's got to be something that's not hour locked. It's got to be something that's interactive, and it's got to be something that's like rewarding, right? I think mini games is a really good, ripe place for that, because there are really cool items in the Thaler shop. People love mini games, and people love mini games because they are the actual true distraction in the video game. So being able to make those things like a direct purchase from that, I think that would be probably the ideal way to do that. And I would just like to see a revival of mini games. That's just me. I'd love to see that. Name a mini game, exactly. But people don't play the mini games because like there's not enough people to like circumvent that. Just think about like people actually play the mini game Castle War mini games in old school because they provide really good buffs that are only obtainable through those mini games. So people do it. They do it. And yeah, I think if you add auras or stuff like that, like things like that, I think people would do that. Plus, honestly, the dungeoneering as well, it could definitely do with a revamp, because people don't do dungeoneering, not because it's not fun. I love dungeoneering. I think it's a very fun skill. However, huge problem with dungeoneering is that it's been circumvented by XP lamps. It's been circumvented by what is it called? A few other things. It's just been kind of like diluted out, which is kind of a shame. And then on top of that, they're going to be doing a huge, I kind of hate the verbiage they use for this, the integrity roadmap. Brother, just say it's game fixes. I like the term game health updates more than integrity roadmap. I think that's just me. I think the verbiage of that is a little odd. I think that integrity is a word that it's kind of like honesty. If you keep saying honesty, so like I'm a very honest guy. If you keep saying that like, I'm a super honest, we're going to make a very honest game. I feel like that's just one of those things that you just don't say. It's something that you do, and it becomes true. I think the term game health update was a way better term than integrity all the time. I think just doing that would have been a much better term for that, right? And the only game health updates we've been seeing is like nerfs. So, maybe there's a bad connotation with that, but that's just me. I'm just a humble reader. You know what I mean? So that's gonna be the big promises that you're gonna hopefully be delivering on in 2026, dude. So I'm hoping for that one. I'm hoping those are going good, and I'm very excited for that. Big thing that I'm super excited about, and I'm very passionate about this, is better UIs. Now, mind you, I get a lot, like a billion, gabillion, quadrillion questions. What is this UI that I use? Mind you, this UI is fake. The one that I use is meant purely for visual appeasement, because MMOs are super busy games. I've done a lot of different UIs to try and make it easier for people to digest, and I've learned as a viewer and as a creator, it is pretty fucking hard to make an MMO very watchable. Any MMO, I don't care if it's WoW, Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy, freaking Elder Scrolls Online, don't matter what the game is. If you are not familiar with the game, it's very, very difficult to watch. Only game that I will say, and I give credit to because it is super easy to watch, even if you don't know what's going on, is Old School. And guess what? The UI is iconic. That UI is a pillar of like history and a little bit of social. It's everything about it. And so that's why I was like, dude, this is the perfect way to try and get people to watch the game. And I think this would be a really good way for people to be able to just like interact with it, because one, it's familiar, and it's like everything you need to know is on the screen that you need to look at. So this is something that I created for recording and streaming purposes, right? With that, I was like, okay, if they're going to be introducing game-changing, better UI, better user experience systems, I pitched the idea to the Jagex team because I got that kind of drip. I got that level of influence. Barely. I can just I can yell at the back in a meeting and be like, can we add this? I pitched like, yo, I get so many questions on my tiny dot of the internet. Why can we make, since you're going to be making giant UI changes anyways, can you just make an official version of this? Make the UI scalable for whatever screen we got. No one's playing on those tiny little fucking big back monitors no more. Everybody's playing on their gigantic, super big monitors now. Might as well just make them look like this, scale it, adjust it however you two need to, and I just pitched that idea. Surprisingly got a good amount of support in there, got some smiley faces, was very happy, and who knows if that ends up happening. I am very excited to see if it ends up happening, right? Who knows? You can pitch this idea anywhere. If you want to see that kind of support for those type of UI changes, this is probably the time to do it, because they're going to be looking at people's feedback all the time, right? And I think that's going to be a very, very, very exciting thing. I think the UI is a really, really big, important thing. And we kind of saw like a small snippet of that in Leagues when they introduced the way to get your UI. When you enter the game, you got presented two options. You got presented the option of starting with the default UI, which everybody sees, where it just kind of looks like this, and like, or actually, it looks more like looks like this. This is what the default player UI looks like when you first boot up RuneScape, right? And so they changed it to where if you didn't want to have it like this, you could go ahead and adjust it and start in the legacy interface, which I honestly think is fine. I think the legacy UI is pretty good. I use it quite often when I'm not streaming or recording because I like being able to resize. So many things in RuneScape don't require a billion different inputs. You don't need 5 ability bars. They're nice to have if you know how to utilize them, but when you're just fucking easing your way into the game, you don't need every single box available to you. You don't even know what's in your inventory, my guy. You don't need to see every single ability that you ever owned on every bar. You don't need all that, right? So being able to adjust however that looks like is a very, very good thing, and I highly recommend it. And I think the idea that they presented that option of like, would you like to have this very simple UI to start, or would you like a traditional MMO experience where you can just kind of pick, right, and build your shit right there, right? So that was a very, very cool thing, and I'm very proud about it. I think that was a really good change. I think they obviously have realized that from as feedback, right? People probably got a bunch of feedback like, hey, this UI is great. I like, and like when people slowly got more familiar with the game, they eased them way, they baby stepped their way into the more complex stuff, because everyone's a toddler, and you gotta slowly walk them when you enter the game. You are a newborn when you come into Lumbridge. Might as well to get newborn treatment, right? Put the training wheels on, and then slowly as you ramp up, dude, you'll get better and better at it. So I think that was a really good idea, and I was actually very, very happy about that. And then additionally, right, fixing skills. This is where the MTX economy has completely destroyed the overarching problem of like skilling, right? And how could MTX completely destroy skilling? Let me give you an example. So if you got Seaman Timmy over here, little player Timmy over here, he's trying to get himself 20 wood cutting, okay? 20 wood cutting, or 20 fire making. I say fire making, okay? He needs 20 fire making. What's little player teaming gonna do? Is he gonna roll his daily spins? Is he gonna do his daily challenges? Is he gonna go do a quest? Is he gonna go chop the wood and then light the fire? Is he going to go do a mini game that's fire making related to be able to get that experience? Those 5 options, most likely, because fire making isn't exactly the most enjoyable skill to train, he's probably either doing his daily challenges and using the XP that he got from those daily challenges to put into fire making because he doesn't want to train it. He's either going to end up buying, he's either going to use his daily keys and put all that experience into fire making, or he's going to do a quest or go do something else, right? The fact that those 2 options are probably the most prominent ones that have no interaction with the economy are the most damaging. Because now you got somebody who will be doing woodcutting, who's going to be chopping regular logs in Berthorpe, and he's going to take those logs and maybe think, I need to go train cooking. So I'm going to chop these trees so they go sell for gold and get me some raw fish. But then that woodcutter's having the same exact problem. I'm not going to train my cooking this way. I'm just going to either do my daily challenges or go do my daily spins and slowly get the cooking level up. Only time people would go past that, really, for skills they don't enjoy, they would end up either buying keys to skip it entirely, or they would end up just not, or getting proteins and use the proteins to level up their whatever skill, right? And then whoever is fishing and like trying to sell their goods on the market to train, not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen because they're not gonna buy it. They ain't gonna buy it. That was the huge thing, right? So that was a huge gigantic circle, and that was very prominent in skills that suck to train: cooking, agility. What's a really shitty one as well? Honestly, early summoning is kind of brutal. Divination is really brutal because it's just like, what the fuck? It's just siphoning. I'm just sucking for 20 hours. No, it's terrible. So being able to revamp skilling and how the XP rates that you get from that, the manner of your skilling methods you train, and a really good example of how the tone will be set in terms of how skilling is done is going to be with the Thieving update. So the Thieving update, for those who don't know, is going to be, let me pull it up right here. So this Thieving update is actually one of the biggest updates I am personally most excited for this year. Number one, I love thieving. I love being a snaky, disgusting little snake and just thieving my way into things. And with this, right, this came out of nowhere, in my opinion. I didn't expect how they would be expanding thieving. I knew they were going to be expanding thieving to 110 because that's what they did for all the other skills in the previous over the year 2025. And so going into 2026, where they're really trying to revamp these skilling methods, right? Let's look at how different this is. So first and foremost, right? Heist is something I've been asking for years. Something I've really wanted for years. There's a heist mini game that no one plays. It's literally cops and robbers, but it's probably the most fun I've ever had doing a skill. Like when I was like 10 years old or whatever the fuck, maybe like 5 years ago or so, I did it. Heist was a very fun mini game. It was just enjoyable to play. And so I was excited to see how Heist would be in like the main game, how that would end up. I want to rob a bank. Let me rob a castle. There's so many. Let me rob a different den. There's so many different facilities here that are like, hey, the perfect fruit for the picking, if you will. And so this seems like a really good idea. They're going to be moving these skills up to 110 and then 120, and they're also going to be littering a bunch of other updates from the skills from like level 30 at the level 90 to make that skilling experience more varied while you're going through the skilling update. Because I realized, like, look, if you're only updating things from 99 to 120, right, you're going to end up getting it's kind of like back-ended, right? So what about the guys that are trying to get into the game? They have nothing to look forward to until they literally hit the max level in the game. Granted, it's a little faster in RS3 compared to like other MMOs where you hit max level, but it is still a very big time investment. And RS3's main appeal, in my opinion, is that it's supposed to be quicker than the other MMOs to get into content that you want to get to do. And one of the things I believe is a very strong point for any successful MMO, or any game in general, is that the early part is as fun as the last part, right? Because if that early part sucks, that is a very big precursor to what that last bit of the game is going to look like. And I really want the game to be successful in terms of what they end up doing. And so if they end up this being a good update, Thieving being a good update, is going to be a really good precedent and also a really good time to provide feedback to people, to the company, to be like, yo, dude, or the game devs, like, yo, dude, this was a banger hit right here. I love being able to rob, yo, XXX. I did not like having to go through XXX. You know what I mean? So, like, it's going to be really important how they end up doing this. I'm also excited for this dagger, bro. Who's excited? I'm excited for this dagger. I don't know what this is going to be. This looks awesome. We haven't gotten a new, like, endgame dagger in a very long time. It's years, literally years, bro. It's gonna be so good. I'm very, very excited for this. And it looks cool. It looks draconic, and actually, I'm excited for what it is. And also, the fact that they're expanding Thieving to 120 as opposed to 110, I think is great. And it looks like they have enough content in between those, right, those levels, to be able to support that. And so if this is what is going to be the precipice, like the precedent that they're going to be going forward for the other skilling maintenance updates, this looks good. I'm excited for this. I hope they're going to revamp a lot of those early gifts because, like, dude, the beginning of the game blows. Like, it does. Unless you've done this, dude. It could be pretty brutal trying to figure out those other things. So I think being able to revamp this, make this a more linear path in terms of skilling and like understanding like what, like I hit this wick, I can go do this. I hit this wick, I can go do this, or I can hit this wick and go do these. That'd be better instead of just this. I can go and do these, and these. That would be a much better thing. Give the variety to how you want to progress your story, right? So that's going to be very exciting. I think this is going to be a great example. I think this is really good. They littered different ways you can train, like being able to pickpocket people in archaeology, pickpocket people in like places you've never been before, like Xanarus, Darkmare, Menphos. These are very, very exciting. Also, these chests are just going to be great because, again, you're getting out in the world, seeing more things. RuneScape is a very instanced game, and so moving away from instances, I think, is going to be very, very, very good. And again, that's going to be another huge precipice of precedent that the game is going to be setting, and I want that to be a great thing moving forward. Big thing, another big one. Let's talk about daily scape, y'all. I think that was a huge pain point for folks that were playing Leagues for the first time, and for people that were trying out the game for the very first time. Wilderness flash events. Those were the biggest culprit of like why the fuck is why is this happening? You know what I mean? People hated having to like break up whatever they're doing because they felt the need to go and do this wilderness flash event out of the need instead of like out of fun. You know what I mean? I do wilderness flash events because I find them entertaining. I find it fun seeing everybody gaggle in one little spot. Everybody go rush and do your little things together. Let's go kill a giant worm together. I think that's fun, so I do it for fun. But I can definitely understand if when you're building your account, like when I started building a new Iron Man account, I definitely was like, all right, dude, I gotta go do my wilderness tree. I gotta go do KBD. I gotta go do this lot. I gotta do the Lost Souls. I gotta go do the butterflies. I gotta go make sure I get all these XP buffs that I'm gonna be getting from the game, because it's just so much better than me actually training the skills traditionally. Now, those are great things. It is a distraction. It is a nice reward for breaking up whatever you're doing, but the reward was a little bit too strong, and they did nerf it in terms of the actual monetize and the supplies and materials you can provide. However, the XP that you get from those early levels are still pretty strong. Now, the problem, I think, in my opinion, is that it is the only strong competitor. All the other distractions in the mini, and like, there's no other alternative that is for an activity. Right, there's no mini game, there's no activity, there's no thing that's gonna compete with that in that instance, right? And I think if they end up trying to adjust that, how that ends up going, that'll be a much stronger way to get people to get out in the world, go do stuff. Because there's a lot of people that play this game, there really are, and they're all spread out in places that kind of don't really gaggle together. There's no reason to do a community thing, and being able to go and have more of those options is gonna be really good. And plus all the daily challenges, the daily logins, yada yada yadas. Anything that you feel that you have to do on a daily basis to maintain your account, especially Iron Man, is pretty brutal. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of like signing up for a second job if you want to be able to hit the end game and maintain your end game status. So it's a pretty brutal thing, and I'm glad they're addressing it because there's a lot of people that fall into that trap that have that like pain of like, oh my god, daily scape. I gotta do my herb runs. I gotta get my bonus XP from the fort. I gotta do the wilderness tree. I gotta do the KBD. I guess like all those things are definitely real world pains that people are experiencing, and it is a detractor more than an attractor. You know what I mean? It makes people not want to check it out, and I definitely understand that, and I definitely empathize with that, and I'm glad they're making those changes. The biggest thing that is kind of weird to me is combat. They addressing how adrenaline is and combat abilities. We're gonna get to that later because I want to talk about that a little bit more than the other ones, but I want to touch these next two as well. Big change is the visual identity of any video game. So right now we're in the lava flow mine. The lava flow mine was made, I think, like 2014. It's old. It's an old piece of content. This thing is not here often. People don't come here. This is a distraction diversion. People do not come here because it's an outdated training method. Pretty fucking cool, but there's nothing to really do here besides like the little small trim shit that I'm doing now. right? But it looks dated. If you look at the tiles and the textures as compared to like other spaces, think like Berthorpe, we'll look at like how Fremenic now looks, like the stones and the tiles and the textures just don't meld well with how the rest of the game looks, right? And so that unified identity is kind of scattered. It's no longer there. And they realized this over the years. They've been doing touch-ups and brush-ups, and they look great. They look fantastic. Any new area, banger. Any old area, ew. It's just that you're trying to make a nice visual, cohesive thing, and I'm very, very excited for that. Because it is pretty jarring. It is extremely jarring. I have a few friends that have played RuneScape very new. They've gone to a lot of different places in the game, and every single time they go into a low-res, old-textured place, why? Why does it look like this is always the question. And then I gotta go through the walk of shame and be like, well, they haven't updated, it's old, and it has that original charm. Like, it does not, dude. It does not, brother. So, being able to fix how that looks is gonna be a very good thing. I'm very excited for the environmental changes. And, more importantly, I'm more excited for the actual player avatar refresh. Now, your player avatar is probably one of the ugliest things on the planet. These are not a very flattering looking characters, right? They don't look very good. Let me take all the smoke and mirrors off real quick. Actually, I kind of like this outfit, so I'm going to keep this. We're going to overwrite this one. Actually, no, we'll overwrite this one. Your actual player avatar is a pretty ugly character. He ain't got a lot going on. He's not... My guy is not Prince Charming over here. So, I've always liked cosmetics in this game because I hated how my character looked. I never thought a character looked like me. I never thought my character was, like, personable, likable. The character heads, when they're in like chat dialogue boxes, I think those look fine. They look kind of goofy, a little wonky. But the actual in-game model, bro, horrible. There are some tremendous screenshots that you can find on this game about how fucking ugly these things are, especially up close. So it's very, very good that they're deciding to update how these actual player models look, because it's a very desperate and needed thing. These player models were updated when the game moved away from the Java client to the, I think, what is it? I think this is like something that starts with an H client. And so when they updated the engine to look and render things this way, it changed how the player models look. And they've always looked weird. They look kind of stringy, in my opinion. And they never looked very, very good. Especially now in the age that we live in now, where a lot of models are like Unreal Engine 5. You got like Elden Ring level models. You got like even Final Fantasy 14, which is a game that's also like 12 years old, has better player models. I think that this is going to be a really good thing to help launch the game into a new era, right? And which is what they're pitching, right? And the player avatar is such an pivotal thing because it's literally what you're going to be looking at the entire time. It's something you're going to be witnessing the entire time. See how how you actually feel in the world when you log in. Because when you go and play other video games, right? One of my favorite video games of all time is Red Dead Redemption 2. And the reason why is not because just the environment itself in that game is beautiful, really good story, everything like that. It is because Arthur Morgan is a fucking dope looking dude. He is an amazing character to look at and witness and project yourself into. It is a very, very, very personable character. And the other characters in those games look good too. And any other player that you end up, any game that can provide you that level of like connection through like your character that you're playing is very important, because that's what keeps people coming back. And I've never really felt that. I've felt the connection to my character in this game through the items I have accumulated, as opposed to like how my character actually looks. So I'm excited for how my characters look. I think you've actually probably seen like good hint of what these new characters look like with Het in the new quest line for Amaskin. He has a brand new player model, and I think it looks really good. And again, I'm just gonna say the loud part out loud, the quiet part out loud. The black people don't look like black people in this game. So I'm kind of glad they're going to make the black people look like black people. Because that's a really important thing for me, and like anybody else that's like, even if you're fucking white, like sometimes some of these characters don't look like you, right? That's why having multiple faces to be able to pick hairstyles that look like what you want to look like are important. Or how you like to look like in your fantasy point and click video game. So those things are really exciting, and I'm very excited to see how they end up looking. It's going to be revamping how your armor sits on you, how your weapons are held. Hopefully they do some animation work too. I would love to see some animation refresh when it comes to the character model refresh. Those are really, really, really exciting things to see. I think this will be great. And on top of that, in addition, they're going to be Oh man, they're also going to be decluttering a lot of the things that inside the game. I think that when it comes to decluttering, a good example of what they use and what's going to be coming to the game on November 17th, next Monday, is actually going to be the removal of the Lumbridge Crater. So the Lumbridge Crater was introduced into the game during a world event, right? It was a gigantic event that where you were on two. It was a giant PvP event, and it was like Saradomin, two gods in Galenor were fighting each other, and you were part of that, right? And at the end of the fight or something like that, they blew up a giant hole in Lumbridge. It was cool at the time. I enjoyed it. It's one of the most memorable moments playing this video game. It has been a hole in the ground for the last like 20-something years, or like 10 years or something. It's a very jarring thing to look at, and so it's going to be really, really good to get that removed and kind of like bring it more cohesive to what it was originally. And they're going to be just decluttering a bunch of other things. Like a good example that he used was the shark fishing outfit that you get for fishing, and that you can create with invention. And those are going to be very, 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 very good changes because it comes in with the visual identity part again, right? People won't like to see a nice grounded medieval game, and having a giant shark running around is not very grounded and visual. Having a giant carrot running around is not very grounded and visual. It's kind of RuneScaping because it's like goofy and wacky, but it's just weird looking. You know what I mean? It doesn't fit the medieval theme, and I'm all for wacky, crazy, stupid ass skins. I'm all for it. I don't mind people expressing themselves in the way that they want to in the game that they want to play, but I think some of the things, especially like this outfit right here. This was an outfit I was genuinely upset about. It's called the Dusk Runner's outfit. Brother, what is this? This was probably one of the worst outfits ever introduced in the game. This is such a jarring outfit to see. It is so bad. It is not RuneScapian at all. It's not grounded in fantasy. This is a very grungy outfit. And this is not how like the identity of how RuneScape should be is. I don't think so. And then it also came with like this jacket, I believe, as well. And like this jacket doesn't look RuneScapian at all either. This is like this doesn't fit any part of the theme, right? And so it's gonna be very good when they end up cleaning a lot of these things up. Now a lot of people are like, okay, the damage has been done already. Why would you even bother trying to fix it? Well, it's because, well, then it just won't come in the game anymore. There's so many different cosmetics and overrides that you can get in the game already. They'll be flushed and pushed out over time, right? So that's kind of my thought and my hope. And so far, they've been introducing cosmetics that I quite enjoy. And the newest one they put out was the Premier outfit, and it's like a giant, it's a gigantic like beetle-looking thing, beetle armor. And I think this is really good. This is a good example of like a gothic medieval armor. I'm okay with this. I like this one. This one's pretty decent, dude. I am a big fan of this one. But it's just overall, I think going back to that medieval theme and sticking to it, you got a lot of play and wiggle room to go with there. You can do a lot of things. So I'm very excited for them to start decluttering a lot of those things, making a lot of those scaling outfits more cohesive. Maybe just changing how the shark outfit looks. Make it a fishing outfit. Just make it what the fishing trolley, like make it a different version of what the fishing trolley outfit looks like. Because that is a grounded fishing outfit. That looks like a fisher. And then now, the biggest thing that I think is going to be kind of weird, I'm not really sure why they're addressing it, but combat upgrades. They're making all of the combat styles melee, outside of necromancy, melee, range, and magic more in line with the progression and leveling experience that necromancy provides you. Mixed feelings on that. Purely on the idea of like, necromancy is a very good skill if you're learning the game because it's basic and simple. There's nothing wrong with basic and simple, but one of the huge appeals for me when it comes to RuneScape is that the game is complex and difficult. I like complexity and difficulty in my life. It's something that makes it a challenge, and I'm all for that. And when that challenge is kind of removed, and isn't able to be like exercised and worked on and lived on, it makes it less appealing. Like if Elden Ring was a super easy game, people wouldn't play it. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping when they say they're gonna make the combat styles more like necromancy, I'm really hoping that they're gonna be making it more like the leveling experience of getting your gear, a leveling experience of like how you can train it, and leveling experience of like how you can progress in it and how you can improve in it are introduced. Because necromancy is very straightforward in your gear upgrade. Necromancy is very straightforward with your ability usage. and it's versatile. You can train it as a like a ritual and like an AFK skill, or you can train it as another AFK skill and just train it with combat. So there's ways that I like how necromancy is, but I don't want to make the other combat skills too easy. Additionally, they were talking about how adrenaline needs to be changed. I'm gonna keep a buck with you, G. I don't know what they gotta change about adrenaline. I'm not a giant 1%er. I'm not a 1%er. I'm not the top of the totem pole. I'm an aggressive average, as my homeboy likes to say it. And I don't really see how you could change adrenaline, because adrenaline is such a fundamental part of the combat system. It would be kind of weird to see how you end up doing that, and I don't want them to fuck that up. And so to make sure they don't fuck it up, they're introducing combat beta worlds, which is really, really important. Some of the best items ever introduced to the game have been introduced. Some of the best combat updates ever introduced into the game have been because of betas. And that's a good example is with the old and roar, right? So the old and roar were beta tested for the special effects for the T95 weapons, right? They were tested for like how their passive should be and how their special attack should be. They were beta tested. There was a lot of feedback on what Jackex's was original vision for the weapons and what the community wanted. They voted on what we ended up with the passive stacking and then the special attack. Those were the winning things, because the original design that Jagex had was good, but wasn't hitting the mark for what people wanted in combat. And so going into more of a beta focused world is going to be a lot better, and taking the feedback from that is going to be way better than just fucking winging it. So going into those beta combat worlds and those combat beta worlds is going to be really important for providing the feedback we need for the game to be successful. Because you can trust developers as much as you want, but they give you the fucking keys and they let you drive. Fucking drive, dude. Give them that feedback and try it out, because I'm going to be trying it out, because I want to make sure that the direction that they end up changing combat is in the right direction. Maybe there's things that I don't even realize that need changes in terms of how your adrenaline usage is and the meanings of it. Only thing I can think of really is how adrenaline is interacted with you when it comes to melee. Melee is a very adrenaline-dependent combat style, and it is a very hard to get and maintain adrenaline combat style. It's a pretty brutal one. So I hope that they make some adjustments when it comes to that. But everything else, I really can't think of, at least at the moment. If you know anything, leave a comment. Let me know. But those are the big things coming in 2026, and why I think 2026 is going to be one of the biggest years for the game. I think having these types of updates are going to be monumental. Like, just no bullshit. I think it's going to be some of the biggest changes, because these are head hurters that the whole community has been looking for. And these are things that even myself, just as someone who just plays the game for fun, just genuinely just logs in with no problem, like no big problems, or hanging over my head like a dark cloud. Cool. There's problems that I didn't realize that I was experiencing that are now going to be changing. That's great. So I'm excited to see those types of changes, and and a lot of people are probably in that same boat where they don't really think too much about it. But chances are, if you're watching a YouTube video on the game, you're probably bored of the trenches and you realize that you're in the trenches. So that's all I got to say on that. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, and thank you so much. This was recorded live on YouTube and Twitch, so come by, come check that out. And yeah, this is the part where, like, I have no idea how to end a video, bro.